Today's story is Not Quite Narwhal. Kelp was born deep in the ocean. He knew early on that he was different from other narwhals. His tusk wasn't as long as everyone else's. He had different tastes in food, and he wasn't a very good swimmer. But his friends didn't seem to mind, so Kelp decided he wouldn't either. That is, until he was swept away by a strong current. I wish I were a better swimmer! Kelp found himself at the surface, closer to land than he'd ever been before. High up on a cliff, he spotted a mysterious, sparkling creature. It looked so familiar. It looked like Kelp! Kelp swam toward land as fast as he could, which wasn't very fast at all, hoping that he could catch up with the creature that looked just like him. When he finally reached the shore, Kelp felt a little bit anxious. He had never left the ocean. He was nervous about walking for the first time, but the land creatures made it look so easy. It wasn't. Ow! Eventually, he got the hang of it. Everything on land was strange and beautiful, but also kind of scary. Kelp began to think he might never find the creature that looked just like him. But as he stumbled out of the forest... Land narwhals! Actually, we're unicorns, and by the looks of it, so are you. Kelp had never heard of unicorns before. They taught him all sorts of new things about his tusk. We call them horns. Wow! They introduced him to unicorn delicacies. The unicone. And they showed him how to gallop. There was no doubt that Kelp was, in fact, a unicorn. He was having so much fun that he didn't want to leave. But then he remembered all of his friends under the sea. Under the sea! Kelp missed them terribly. So he said goodbye to the unicorns and returned to the ocean. Come back soon! Kelp swam toward home as fast as he could, which wasn't very fast at all, hoping that narwhals would still like him now that he was a unicorn. When he finally arrived, Kelp had butterflies in his stomach. Oh, come home! Kelp! Kelp took a deep breath and told his friends the news. Turns out I'm not a narwhal. Well, of course you aren't! I'm a unicorn! We all knew that. They took it quite well. Kelp was happy to be home, but now that he'd experienced life on land with the unicorns, he couldn't seem to forget them. Did he want to be a land narwhal with the unicorns? Or a sea unicorn with the narwhals? Kelp couldn't decide. Then he realized that maybe, just maybe, he didn't have to choose. Whoopee-doo! I'm a unicorn. So, is Kelp a unicorn or a narwhal? Well, the story tells us that Kelp is clearly a unicorn and not a narwhal. But Kelp begins the story thinking that Kelp is a narwhal. What's great about this is that Kelp grew up in a different community of narwhals, not unicorns, and they accepted Kelp for who Kelp was. And then later on in life, Kelp figures out, wait a minute, I'm not a narwhal, I'm a unicorn. And also immediately gets accepted to Kelp's unicorn community. Then Kelp has this huge dilemma. Do I want to go back and live with my narwhal community, or do I want to go live with my unicorn community? And the story teaches us a very beautiful message of these two communities coming together and being able to coexist, or to live together just in a very great and friendly way. And kelp is so beautifully accepted in both communities, regardless of whether kelp is a narwhal or a unicorn. And that's a beautiful message, I think, for all of us, that we can accept people for who they are and wherever they come from. And it doesn't matter if they're a unicorn or a narwhal, we're all just part of the same community. And I think that Not Quite Narwhal beautifully illustrates that.